Hello, my name is Mark Newman, Vice Chair, acting as Chair tonight for this hearing. I am calling to order a hearing for Granby's participation in the Neighborhood Act and Assistance Program pursuant to the Town Charter, Section 4.5, public hearing to call and receive citizens' input and solicit feedback, allowing Granby's Board of Selectmen to adopt the Neighborhoods Assistance Act program. I need to have the whole call read.
You do not.
A call was posted, I believe.
It was in the Drummer on March 25th.
Very good. For this public hearing, we'll have inputs from speakers, written and verbal inputs. Please make sure that if you're speaking for one of the items, please address your name and address prior to speaking. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak? Yes.
Good evening. You're all thinking, she's back. Sorry. I'll be quick. Jenny Emery, 71 Loomis Street, North Granby. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of Holcomb Farm. We have participated successfully the last few years in the NAA grant, focusing specifically on energy efficiency grants because those get a dollar for dollar credit for any businesses that pay corporate business tax to the state of Connecticut. So we're going to be very focused on trying to find some businesses that want to support us this year. We put forward two proposals that both relate to the energy efficiency as part of the renovations of the church project that you heard about 2 weeks ago. I broke them into two pieces because we have early estimates that do the work in two phases, these two pieces. Having been through this program before, the reality is as long as the nature of the project is the same, the exact specifics can change over time in terms of who the contractor is going to be and how much and so forth. But one of them is for radiant heat in the new production facility, and the rough estimate for that is $50,000. And the other one is energy efficiency for the rest of the building, which would be in the form of heat pumps, and that's for $73,000. I would just, for those not as familiar with the program, any nonprofit can request projects up to $150,000 a year, and any business can get credits up to $150,000 a year if the match happens next September. But first, it has to go through this process and get your endorsement for the projects. So those are the two projects we have this year, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does the board have any questions for the public
No questions from me.
on the subject?
Just one question. Any concern from the Friends of Holcomb if you get one and not the other?
If the project goes forward, all of this is going to get done, whether we get these grants or not. It's
Okay.
just a question of whether we have to raise more or whether we have more grant money.
Got it.
And we have had situations in the past where we didn't get the project fully funded, so we added our own funds into what the corporation put in. So
Thanks.
people can take pieces of this if they don't want to take the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
That works fine.
Nothing for me.
Nothing for you. Mike, any
Nope.
comments?
All set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, point of order. Are you going to vote on this tonight?
This is the public hearing.
Right.
During the meeting, there is an agenda item covering this same topic.
Yeah, but I'd like to have some input before you vote.
Okay. So right now, during the public hearing, we're taking inputs on the two items listed, or any others that want to be brought up tonight. We can discuss input after the public hearing closes.
So when are you voting? After the public hearing or before?
The vote would happen during the Board of Selectmen meeting. This is a public hearing. They're two separate events. The public hearing started at 6:45, and the intent is that it'll end before the Board of Selectmen meeting starts. Okay?
But a PS comment, you can do it during public comment, right?
Yes, there's the opportunity during the public comment section of the hearing. Was there any written inputs?
No.
I didn't ever see anything.
Okay. Then now we will open it up to the public comment section of the public hearing. Yes, please make sure you include your name and address before you start your input.
Right on Martin, 38 Day Street. I'll be brief. Now, my understanding is that the Holcomb Farm is a town property, correct? I mean, let's face it, guys. I know the situation you're in, but you know, that's a simple fact. It's a town property or it isn't a town property. That's.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Now, I understand this effort is for the old Methodist church. The town has acquired that. Okay. My only concern here is, and I wasn't able to hear everything. I was assuming it was a regular 7 o'clock, so that's my fault for not being here a little bit earlier and getting set up for that. My only concern about this is that the town has no liability on these projects if there's a cost overrun. In other words, this is being requested by a separate entity, Holcomb Inc., which is a 501(c)(3), okay? They're going to receive the funds. If the property belongs to the town, it's a town's building. You have a third party doing the work on that building. So the question, first of all, is what is the legal relationship between the town and, Friends of Holcomb Farm on that facility? Now, I'm not discussing things that I'm against any of this, any ready and reheat modifications or mini splits. That's not the point. I just want to know who's responsible, and you need to look at that for any cost overruns. Now, those numbers that I've seen, they look a little on the light side. I mean, there could be things like, electrical work needs to be done or whatever. So that's a question. I don't think the town budget should be impacted by any of that. If there's a cost overrun, it's to the credit of the Friends of Holcomb Farm. I said my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak for the hearing?
Robert Flanagan, Woodcliff Drive. The only concern that I have, I know the Friends of Holcomb Farm, Ferentino, agreed that they could lease or run it. Was it for 10 years or 15? Does anybody know?
It runs through 2045 right now is the lease and use agreement that applies to the rest of to the barn property.
Okay.
We haven't negotiated the part that would cover the church yet.
The only thing, I like Holcomb Farm because I went to UConn and I was there when they transferred it back, and I'm going to fight to keep it. My only concern is, I know this is grant money, but that is also taxpayer money. I just want to make sure if this amount is spent, that we, retain it, we keep it. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. I don't want to, put all that over 120 grand in, and then something happen where we lose it and it's gone down the wayside.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there anybody on Zoom who would like to speak? Maureen?
Sylvia Ramon. I just have a question. I have both radiant and heat pumps in my home. And I know that there's also available solar panels and heat. Why wasn't that considered as part of this proposal in lieu of perhaps radiant heat. Mini splits can only, in cold weather, work up to, or a heat pump, can only work up to a certain temperature. Once it gets below zero or in single digits, it pretty much becomes inefficient and you have to go back to oil or electricity. Radiant heat it takes a while for it to generate into the room. Objects are warmed up, not bodies, unless the body happens to be in the room. So I guess there seems to be a big push in town to look at solar, or there was, and why isn't this project taking that form of, green energy into effect? Thank you.
If you have information on why a solar heating project wasn't also included,
Yeah, I'm happy to respond. First of all, nothing is final yet because we have early estimates and we have to finalize and go to bid and so forth. The plan is that we will end up putting solar on the roof for the electricity to drive the heat pumps and the heat pumps that create the radiant heat. So, and we have a donor who is interested in doing that. That's why I didn't include that as part of the NAA grant. But one piece at a time. The new heat pumps, today's heat pumps, can fully handle the electric heat and cooling needs of the building, according to the engineers. And the radiant part is the strategy right now for the part of the building that would be used as sort of an indoor wash and pack for produce. So it doesn't need to be real warm, it just needs to warm the bodies that are in there working at any given time. So there's two different pieces of the building. But all of that is still, will get finalized as we go through the process.
okay, thank you for providing that extra information. Are there any other comments in the room? Did you have any other comments on Zoom, Maureen? Okay, hearing no further, or any comments on the board?
No.
No.
Hearing no other comments, I will close the public hearing. And we'll take a small recess before we start the Board of Selectmen meeting at 7 o'clock.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor of the motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I will call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I think it's my turn to lead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is the meeting minutes from the May 19th meeting. And I believe there is an updated set that was distributed.
Correct. Mr. Chairman, Jenny Emery on item 4.3, the presentation on Holcomb Farms. She added some context to some of the minutes. So the original minutes that went in the package were unamended. The minutes that I passed out tonight reflect Jenny's comments on 4.3.
Thank you, Mike. Okay.
I'll move we approve the amended minutes for the May 19th Board of Selectmen meeting.
Second.
Any comments or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amended minutes, approval of them, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are accepted as amended. Okay. Fortunately, there are no open appointments currently. Communications, we didn't have any in our packet. Any last-minute additions, Mike?
There were not.
Under old business, we'll move on to the ordinance change.
Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, there was a package of information specific to ordinance 156.1 to 156.6. That is the exemption section for elderly and disabled persons. We are seeking, the assessor and the administration is seeking to move the annual filing process, which occurs between February 15th and May 15th, to an every other year. And if you recall, First Selectman Fiorentino asked us to provide the actual red line copy. So you have 4 or 5 pages in your package, and on page 2, we are simply changing annually to biannually, and that the word might be biannually, but what we're trying to do is clearly make this an every other year process to provide less of a burden on our seniors, but also to align more closely with the state program.
Thank you. Are there any actions that we need to take for this?
There are not. There's a public hearing set for 6:45 in 2 weeks. And if anybody feels like biannually should be biannually, I'm happy to take that.
I'm just going by what Webster says.
All right. So we will change.
I think that biannually is as confusing as biannually.
Every
So-
2 years.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then just put it in as every.
Or put it in parentheses, every other year. or
Okay,
every year other.
we could do that.
I think that we should do that for clarity's sake.
But no action required tonight. We were simply showing the public, showing the board what the intent of the change was.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item, 5.2, current school housing development.
Similar update, no action is required today. If you recall, First Selectman Fiorentino, after the Commission on Aging had held a meeting, they were also going to hold perhaps a special meeting and then think about what their recommendation would be at their June meeting, which will be held next Monday. At that point in time, Mark will be back from his travel, and in front of the Board of Selectmen will be the information provided by the Commission on Aging, as well as any thoughts or questions that you have, in hopes that we can come to some type of direction on Kearns. And then perhaps as early as the next meeting, there would be an action to allow us to move forward with the developer, or held additionally for an additional period of time till we have that direction. So no action tonight, but it's out there in the public domain for people to think about and work on.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No questions?
Very good. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, the 10-year town and BOE capital plan approval.
Mr. Chairman, this is the same thing at the last meeting. Now that we're through the budget, the town and the board came forward with their 10-year capital improvement plans. It totals about $70 million between the two. This board has a section in the charter where it must approve them before it goes to CPAC. CPAC then will begin their twice-a-month meetings in hopes of making recommendations as to what the priority capital items are. So next step, nothing to do today, is for the Board of Selectmen to consider the capital improvement plan that was distributed to you 2 weeks ago.
Any questions on that capital plan?
No questions.
No questions. Okay, moving on to the farm update. I don't believe we're taking any actions tonight, but any updated information for us?
No, also very similar. We heard the Holcomb Farm annual report last meeting 2 weeks ago. We also heard their plans for the United Methodist Church property that was donated to the town of Granby by the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. They've presented what affectionately could be called as a farm store operation and additional processing space for their cooperative farm. No action is required today. Mark has taken the first stab at the license and use agreement. We have one in place, and as Jenny mentioned, it's through 2045. I don't expect the term to be exceeded, but I expect the United Methodist Church, if this board approves it, to be wrapped into the existing agreement so that moving forward, I want to, the gentleman who spoke earlier, I want to assure him that it is always in our mindset that no taxpayer money should be used to support Holcomb Farms. That is a freestanding, through the Friends of Holcomb Farm, through their philanthropy, through their donations, and the farm basically is self-supporting, and this would be an expansion of that. So no action tonight. It will come up in 2 weeks for consideration.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to new business. First item, the BOE fiscal year 25 operation surplus transfer to capital fund. Mike, did you have any additional description beyond the memo?
I do. So for those who may be watching this and would like to know exactly what's happening, this is some really good news that the Board of Education provided to the Board of Finance. They originally broke the news to the Board of Education about a week and a half ago, and then the Board of Finance was able to digest it and make a motion subject to this board acting favorably. But there is $650,000 of projected operating surplus from the fiscal 25 budget. There are 3 reasons for that. There's $267,000 due to staffing changes, vacancies, and leaves compared to their original budget. Part of that is a high school psychologist under certified salary. They also had some good luck with outplacement tuition. They had 3 students change the placement where they returned to in-district from their initial out-of-district placement. So there was also 4 students who withdrew from their outplacement program for various reasons. They either may have moved out or moved into homeschooling. And then finally, the tuition, the transportation related to those outplacements is also substantially very expensive. So between lower salaries, lower tuition, and lower transportation for a variety of reasons, the board, I think, surprised themselves. I think they surprised the Board of Finance, and I'm surprised. There's $650,000 of operating surplus that they will be returning. And in a discussion with the Board of Finance chair, we would like to move those, which is on page 3, Kimmy Cheng's, Director of Finance's motion. We're proposing to move those funds not to exceed $650,000 because right now it's a solid projection from the Board of Education General Fund to handle 3 priority projects: a new building roof replacement for the central office, $130,000 for Granby Memorial High School gymnasium retractable bleacher replacement, and then the remainder, which at the moment we tentatively target at $420,000, moved to the Board of Education Safety and Security Project. That project is about $1.2 million under current estimates. It is their top priority project, and we already have approximately $440,000 in the capital plan, sitting in the capital fund. So this 420 will be married with that 440. So you will have 840,000 or so, 860,000 or so toward that 1.2 million. So they can eventually sign a contract and move toward those security replacements. So what you're being asked to do tonight is to really validate the Board of Education's surplus and consider what the Board of Finance did and agree to move this from the general fund to the capital equipment improvement fund. It's just simply a transfer of funds before June 30th. On September 1st, when the numbers become final, They'll come back with any additional amounts over 650 with another transfer. But right now, we feel pretty good that the 650 is solid.
So we can start, would anybody like to make the motion? And then we can have discussion.
I'll move that the Board of Selectmen authorize a transfer of funds in the amount not to exceed $650,000 from the Board of Education line item from the general fund to the Building Maintenance and Improvement line item in the Capital Equipment Improvement Fund.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
Just a quick question. The BOE Safety and Security Project, is that bulleted out somewhere?
Yes, on the capital improvement plan that you received yesterday, or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, okay.
There's a priority. It's on the priority list for Board of Education projects. And then if you go to the Excel worksheet, there's an item on there.
Okay.
That number has been as high as $5 million. That was a replacement of all doors, all windows, basically bulletproofing the high school in the event that there was an intruder. However, looking at it through different lenses, we have a new security, we have a new building director over at the Board of Ed. They feel like the more appropriate number to get where we need to be is about 1.2 million, down from the 5.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and with the money moving into this fund, it doesn't necessarily earmark it for those projects. Those projects would still have to get prioritized through the CPAC process, or?
In this particular case, those would be the 3 priority projects that would receive this money. That's the desire of the board. That's the Board of Education. That's the desire of the Board of Finance. And they are on the capital CPAC. They are on the CPAC list, and they are on the 10-year capital plan. So we are essentially crossing off the first 4 priorities, leaving the renovation of the middle school as really the only unfunded one, if my recollection is correct.
Okay,
Yep,
that's helpful, thanks.
yep.
Anything else? Senator?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
If I could, Mike, the discussion that went on at the Board of Finance meeting, the Board of Ed presented there that this was their plan to the Board of Finance, and the Board of Finance concurred.
You're correct. There's a bit more background to it. One, I think, as I mentioned, the Board of Education producing a surplus of this size is a bit rare. Usually, special education goes in the other direction. So, one, it's good to have the surplus, but from the administration's perspective, from the Board of Finance's perspective, there's a couple of things in play here. Number one, anytime you can move from the approved operating account to handle capital improvements, that's a good thing because you don't have to reach back out to the voters and say, we need X amount of money for capital. But more importantly, last year, the state legislature passed the ability of Board of Educations to set up what we call a 2% fund. They can put aside as much of a surplus in their budget as 2%. We would rather have them come forward, identify what the surplus is, and prioritize it so that we all work together on it. The Board of Ed, the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance all work together, rather than have the Board of Ed unilaterally put the money in the 2% fund and then direct the spending. So we are handling this differently than we could. There's 2 ways that are certainly legal and appropriate. This is the way that we believe is more transparent and allows all the boards to weigh in on the priorities as opposed to just the Board of Education. So slightly different, but it accomplishes capital priorities, and it does it in a way where we're most transparent with, again, some good news that the Board of Education has delivered.
Okay. Thank you for that additional explanation. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing no other comments, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes. moving on to the Neighborhood Assistance Act submission approvals. We had a public hearing earlier today. We had comments from the people making the proposal and from the public. Would anybody like to make the motion ahead of our discussion?
I'll move that we approve the two program proposals received for the Connecticut Neighborhood Assistance Act NAA Tax Credit Program and direct staff to complete the application process on or before July 1st, 2025.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll start on this side this time. Anything, Peg?
No, not in addition to what we've heard already during the public hearing.
Uh,
No, nothing for me.
Do you? Okay. So I know that we had comments during the public session. I believe that we've given our description on how we'll be addressing whichever was, the questions on liability. If there are no further questions, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, the motion passes. Moving on to item number 3, report from Planning and Zoning on 603 Cider Lane. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, apologies for the confusion. I only wanted to do one memo, and we attached it to both the 603 Cider Lane report back from P&Z, which was handled by Abby Kenyon, as well as a new referral of 83 Salmonbrook Street, which is known as Freshies. So let me start with 603 Cider Lane. A couple of months ago, administration had a desire to sell 603 Cider Lane. That was a lot that we held back a number of years ago. We thought we would stage winter operations there, from plowing and snowing, perhaps equipment, and then salt and sand. We do not use it that way, so we believe it's in the best interest of the town to put that particular lot up for sale. But before we do that, we have to do an 824 check, which means, does selling this lot, is it consistent with the existing plan of conservation and development? Abby Kenyon brought that to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they discussed it at their meeting on May 13th. The commission found the sale would be consistent with the plan of conservation and development. So this is just a report back that we have completed that step, and the town will be moving forward to issue a request for proposal for the sale of 603 Cider Lane. At the same time, we would also like to move forward and refer to Planning and Zoning for the same 824 determination, 83 Salmonbrook Street, which is Freshies. You were aware that we had an extended negotiation with a restaurateur that ultimately did not move forward. And the thought was that the town would be better off selling this. So since we're moving to move 603 Cider Lane to sale, we would also like to move 83 Salmonbrook Street to sale. The building continues to deteriorate. It needs a number of work, and we feel the most expedient way to handle it is to send it for 824 determination by Planning and Zoning first, and then parcel it up as two separate items for one sale. So that's the intent, to request a motion from you, the Board of Selectmen, tonight to refer 83 Salmonbrook Street to P&Z for consideration under 824 and report back.
Someone like to make that motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen refer parcel 83 Salmonbrook Street to the Planning and Zoning Commission for consideration under CGS 824 and report back to the Board of Selectmen with their findings.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussions?
I just have a question. If we do this 8-24 referral, does it preclude us from leasing the property in the event that somebody comes forward with a lease proposal that's acceptable to us?
No, it does not.
It doesn't require us to sell it if something more for...
It did. So at the moment, we're not contemplating issuing, we've issued 2 RFPs for lease or sell. and those have not produced fruit. So we were going to simply move to sale. But if you'd like to keep the options open, the 824 would not preclude us from doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You all set? Other questions? I mean,
On the other one, the Cider Lane,
Yep.
603 Cider Lane, I'm assuming Public Works has no objection to us selling that property?
You're correct. Before we brought it to the Board of Selectmen, we checked with Public Works, and they're fine.
Great, thank you.
this way, any questions?
All set.
Okay. Then all those in favor of the motion to reference the 83 Seven Brook Street property to planning and zoning, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion passes. Yep, somebody's car alarms. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A number of items, this being the first meeting of June, you would receive the departmental activities from me as the department's heads report them to me through May 31st. And there's 5 pages of things that would pique everybody's interest, but I only highlight for those that are viewing those of interest. So we received word on Thursday that Granby was awarded a 2025 STEEP grant, which is Small Towns Economic Assistance, a grant totaling $580,000. If you recall, back in February, we approached the board for permission to submit that grant. It would essentially carry on the walking path that the first STEEP grant paid for, predominantly paid for in Salmon Brook Park. It would continue it north along the Rovers Field, and then there is some rough terrain that goes to the Route 20 parking lot. It would make that handicapped accessible, and we have heard from the Horse Council, and we will take their needs into consideration as well when we design that slope. There is an additional $117,000 local match for that. So for every dollar we put in, the state puts in about 5. Again, if you look out a little bit further, in the town's 10-year plan of conservation and development, there is a desire then to bring some sidewalks from the Route 20 connector in the next 10 years, certainly nothing imminent, in reconnecting them to where they terminate at Town Hall. That would create about a 2-mile loop if you wanted to walk into Salmon Brook Park, circle down through the Rovers Field up to Route 20, onto the sidewalks that aren't there now, and then connect back to the central business district, you could. So this is the second spur of 3. And why this is important, why this is good news as well, is on June 3rd, which is tomorrow, the Parks and Rec Session 2 of public input will be held at 6 p.m. at the Park House. The Park and Rec study will be is done by GZA Architects, and they will be producing what I would estimate are 30 different things that can be done at Aaron's Park and at Salmon Brook Park. Some of these are very small things that won't cost a lot of money. Some are very large things. This $580,000 plus the 117 match will be a jump start to look at that report and those 2 parks holistically in the event that the Board of Selectmen want to do something. You're aware that we have a pickleball noise issue we may want to take care of. So this will be kind of rolled up with that. So really good news, $580,000 of state money that will be invested here in the town of Granby. On Thursday, we took control of 229 Mountain Road. That was for the radio control tower project. So we now have removed the last remaining obstacle, which was out of our control. And now we will be working toward building that tower and making the installation of the radio equipment. On Tuesday, Thank you to Dr. Maffa. Thank you to Kelly Rome. We met for the first session with Granby Ambulance, and we started to discuss the parameters of a working MOU. So over the summer, we'll probably have something to report back to the board. And then finally, I attended a Simsbury desktop cybersecurity exercise by CISA. CISA is a federal agency that works in cooperation with the state, and they are real-time assessors of cybersecurity for municipalities and the government. For me, I knew there were problems across the state, across the nation. To hear it firsthand from CISA was sobering. I do feel very comfortable that in John Lambert, Frank, and Tristan, we do have an excellent first line of defense. Nothing is ever bulletproof when it comes to other nations wanting to mess around with our infrastructure through IT. But with Frank, John, and Tristan, we're as good as we can get, let's put it that way. We will be taking advantage of opportunities that CISA offers us to test our systems, and we'll do that as probably future tabletop exercises. So I just wanted to let you know that we keep our fingers in that, and it was quite sobering. Finance, Tax Office, and Assessor's Office, Kimmy is busy preparing preliminary year-end estimates, some of which you saw on the Board of Ed side tonight, in year-end transfers with budget amounts going to small cap. She has also prepared and completed 21 different requested items from the auditor. They are already out here doing field work. If you recall, we are the first community in the state of Connecticut, partially due to our size and partially due to Kimmy's competency. We're first out to get the audit report out. It's usually here by the time fall hits. We are also coordinating with the assessor an appraisal for the town for 10 Hartford Avenue, and that is based on a court appeal. Continuing on, community development, both Joel, our building official, and Brian, our fire marshal, conducted inspections of Building 5 at Station 280. That's the last building. Staff also had a pre-construction meeting with the developer for a 10-lot residential development on Cider Lane. Site work is expected to begin soon. Planning and zoning, and you will see this item on your agenda next meeting. They are looking for resident volunteers to serve on the 2026 Plan of Conservation and Development Committee. June 23rd, if you go out to the webpage, applications are due by that date. Meetings will start in September. We also received the draft sewer ordinance and policies, so administration is reviewing those, and later on in the summer, something will come to you. Under the police department, 4 officers attended the CLEAR training. That's the opioid response training that we entered into a memorandum of understanding a few months back. And they also did numerous site visits for the radio project, including the Canton PD and the South Windsor Emergency Operations Center. When we talk about noteworthy items with respect to crime, you may have seen there was a WFSB report of a complaint that cars were passing school buses, and this was specific to Quarry Road. WFSB did an expose on it. The police looked at the video cameras. An investigation led to a vehicle and driver being identified, and proper enforcement was completed. So kudos to the Granby Police Department for following up on that. Granby officers also worked with various state agencies. They conducted a series of compliance checks at the vape and smoke shops we have here in Granby. Labor violations were found at 4 stores by the Department of Labor, and 1 store was in fact selling marijuana products. 17.9 pounds of marijuana was seized and an arrest was made. 3 warrants were received for arrest of individuals involved in motor vehicles stolen here from Granby. Shifting to the Public Works Department, they found the water leak that was befuddling them at Salmon Brook Park, so that's good news. 4 speed bumps were installed at Salmon Brook Park. That is good news. We have quite a bit of traffic through there, especially during Little League games, and the speed bumps will slow them down. Department of Public Works held an open house. I attended it, and I agree with Kirk. It was a great success. There was, at least the time I was there, between 60 and 80 parents and their children walking through, touching a truck. Many residents utilized the paper shredding and textile program that was offered at the same time. And thanks go out to the Lions Club for sponsoring the paper shredding. Now that we own 229 Mountain Road, Kirk will finalize an RFP for the land clearing and building a roadway so that the tower can ultimately be erected. And finally, road overlay estimates for work to be done over the next 3 years have been determined. Switching gears to human services, Veterans Luncheon was held on May 21st. Veterans and their supporters, 75 in total, turned out for a nice meal served by the Flying Yankees. Women's Work in World War II was a presentation highlighted the incredible efforts of the women of the 1940s who transformed the course of the war. Parks and Recreation Study, as I mentioned, will be presented on June 3rd with some draft recommendations, and the consultants from GZA took the feedback gained from both the telephone interviews, the stakeholder interviews, and 2 separate prior studies, and everything is aligning. Not much has changed from the 2018 study, the 2020 study, and what they did. I won't go through the registrar of voters, but Laura and Karen produced a nice summary that's of interest, and it keeps everybody up to date on what's happening. With respect to the town clerk, Jen reviewed a request for the absentee ballot Dropbox security system. She also prepared a list of offices for the Secretary of State as the municipal elections are coming up on November 4th. She prepared endorsement packages and office lists for both Republican and Democratic chairs. And then she finalized the notary public policy and flyer, and will be discussing those under communications at the next meeting. So a lot of good stuff there, Mr. Chairman, and I was able to only highlight a few of it, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I didn't have any questions. Any other board members with questions?
Nope.
With regard to the speed bumps, I think they're wonderful. Are they going to be painted so that people know they're there?
They will, yes.
I was at a Little League game the other day, and there were quite a few bumps going on.
Yep.
Thank
They were painted on the ground. That's what we grinded off, but they will be painted yellow.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, before you go on, I think we might need to have a motion on the 603 Cider Lane matter. We did approve the 83 Salmon Brook.
So I thought that 603, we were
That was
just receiving back
a
the
report back.
Get
the
back.
report back. Is there an action?
I just think the packet was a bit confusing, that's all. So there was
Yeah, I
2 in there that had a motion, but
Good.
Well, no, we're checking to see, is there an action to go with the 603 Center Mill Lane?
I'm not aware. We've already received from the Board of Selectmen the permission to sell 603. We were completing the 824 before we issued it to be sure it was in compliance with the Plan of Conservation and Development. So the fact that it came back with a thumbs up validates what we've already done. The second item we requested, which did request a motion, was to refer to P&Z 83 Salmonbrook Street, and that's the motion that you did. So I'm fine unless you're seeing something.
I guess this is, do we need to formally authorize town staff to move forward with 603 Cider Lane?
You already did, I believe, in a
Okay.
previous meeting.
Okay.
We already have the permission. I will check, and in the event we don't, it'll come forward at a future meeting when we talk about 83 Salmonbrook Street.
Great.
We're not
Thank
going
you.
to send them out separately. We're going to try to send them out together.
Okay.
I can check that.
Moving on to the item number 8, Mark, who is working his day job, is not here tonight. Did he leave a written first selectman report that we want to include?
He did not.
Okay. And he didn't make it on to the Zoom call either. Moving forward to the selectmen reports, I'll start on my right. So Fred, anything?
nothing for me.
Nothing for me.
I just want to commend everyone who was involved in planning and pulling off the Memorial Day Parade. I thought it went extremely well. It was a very nice event. And that's it.
Much better weather than last year.
Yes. So whoever was responsible for that.
I thanked Kurt for buying the good weather. I can just say I attended the Touch a Truck also, aside from having trucks to touch. They have very nice equipment down there. If you need a Kubota, you can see what they're like and then go out and rent your own. Moving to student liaison.
Okay, so adding on to the Memorial Day comment, I'm glad that you enjoyed. It was a success this year. So glad the weather was better, and it was great for us in the band. It was really hard to march in the uniforms, but we're glad we got to march this year, and we hopefully will be marching again next year. And we had a record number of participants this year in our band, considering that we have a lot of younger kids coming up from the middle school joining the band now, which is great. Last Friday, we also had our underclassmen awards. So students from freshmen to juniors got to receive awards based off their hard work, dedication, on their academics. These awards are selected by teachers. And there's also awards for the arts, like the Halo Awards and for music awards. Our final exams are going to start this Thursday and will be going until next Tuesday. So Tuesday the 10th will be the high schoolers' last day of school, and the 11th will be the last day of school for the middle schoolers and elementary school kids. And for the high school, that is reserved as a makeup exam day if you miss any exams. The boys tennis won their Sunday first round of states against Shiphog Valley. It was 5-2, but they had just lost quarterfinals against Suffield today, 1-6. So they will not be moving forward. However, the girls softball first round of states against Plainfield today, they just won 8-0, so they will be continuing on in the second round of states. And then also we have the seniors are graduating on the 10th next week, and that will start at around 5 p.m. if any of you want to attend.
Okay.
Busy time.
Thank you very much. Moving on, public session. Are there any members of the public who would like to provide comments or have questions?
Flanagan, Whitcliffe Drive again. Is there any monetary numbers on Cider Mill or Salmon Brook Street?
No. We contemplated, we haven't made any decisions yet, but we contemplated doing minimum bids. So floors and anything above that. So for instance, Freshies, we have an appraisal that is about 300,000, but we know there's about 70,000 of work that needs to be done. But I think we're going to set the threshold somewhere in the 225 to 250 range, just spitballing.
The other thing, isn't there a state statute that selling town property goes to referendum?
There's a charter provision that would require that, yes.
Thanks.
Any other members of the public here in the meeting room who would like to speak? Anybody online with the Zoom call? Hearing none, I will close public session. Is there a need for an executive session tonight?
There is not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moving on to the last item, adjournment. Could I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.